Hey guys, it's Kendrick from Providence Tarot. I'm gonna give you your daily for November, oh my gosh, why am I saying that? For January 14th, 2021. I don't even know if I've ever said that. Let me turn the music down, the Marias. I think that's good. Right? Okay, so let me go ahead and shuffle these cards. So if you are just new to seeing this channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button. And if you're new here, when you're done watching, or if you're able to watch and go find me on Instagram at the same time, do that. It's Providence Tarot there, and my personal account is NYC Kendrick, okay? I'm also Kendrick NYC just because I tried to monopolize that. So, you know, if you see that as well, it's not a fake account. It actually is mine. It's just more photography, right? I kind of like had to change it. You know, we evolve and our IGs evolve with us. So yeah, this is going to be a daily for January 14th. And a card just exposed itself to me. Two of them did. It's the Princess of Swords and the Queen of Wands. So the Queen of Wands is related to, you know, the Three of Wands. So it's talking about how you actualize something. It's talking about taking action. And if you want to see anything happen, it's going to start with you. Everything starts with you. So remember that as well. You know what I mean? Feeling in your power, feeling enthusiastic about what your capabilities are, what your gifts are, and what is possible for you. You know what I mean? Don't get in your head. Sometimes it's just better to be direct and go for it. You know what I mean? Take a risk when a risk needs to be taken. You know what I mean? It's healthy to take risks sometimes because it shows you just how far you can go, and it helps you move past and see past your limitations. And this is also talking about that, getting past your limitations and also kind of like acting beyond other people's expectations. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to like do things your way and not listen to how everybody else tells you how to do something. You know what I mean? It's asking you to be an individual. You know what I mean? And to think like an individual and to be on that mode. There is a such thing as healthy narcissism. There is a such thing as a healthy ego. And sometimes that thing needs to be exercised in order for us to see results, right? It's kind of like you can't go through this world not wanting to, you know, use your creativity. You know, you're here for a reason and you're not meant to just kind of like let things pass you by, right? Go for it. And then we have the Princess of Swords here, which is the equivalent of the Page of Swords. And it's talking about what, you know, what makes you interesting. You know, what's fresh about you? What's fresh and youthful about you that you need to put out there so that you can relate to more people, right? Okay? Open your mind. Be a little bit more objective, okay? Use your wit. Use your intellectualism, you know? Right? What are the interesting topics that you like to speak of? Is there something new that you want to kind of like sink your teeth into, right? Also, maybe you have to detach from something so that you can kind of like think in this new, fresh perspective, right? Maybe you're chopping yourself of the obsolescence of your old personality. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's go ahead and like shuffle the cards some more. I'm listening to the Marias right now. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do it 3 times because that seems like, you know, that was what, 4, 5, 6, I don't know how many times I did it, but right now I'm gonna add on 3 more. And I would prefer not to get any ones that fall out, but it's okay if I do. And also, you guys, if the dailies are like shorter than 15 minutes, I will post them on IG. But if they're longer than that, they're only gonna be here on YouTube. Unless I choose to like edit the videos and cut them, and we all know. Yeah. It's confusing. All right, one more time. All I can think about is Mad TV. Okay, so I'm gonna cut the deck. And then I'm gonna lay it out. See, yesterday I did like a 3-stack, but today I'm doing a good old Providence Tarot Ascendant spread. So here we go. Oh, I don't want to see that before I have to turn it over. Today I'm reading at Shanti Bookshop and Crystal Gallery from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. depending on how busy it is. And usually, you know, I'm there. Okay? So let's see what's at the bottom of the deck. The bottom of the deck is the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands is, you know, restricting. Something is restricting your individuality. And something is getting in the way of you kind of like feeling the freedom of individuality, right? It's Saturn. Saturn is restricting. It's restricting, you know, your time, right? So you could be wasting your time with some people. You could be wasting your time with a job or wasting your time committed to something that is just kind of like taking you away from yourself. You know what I mean? So kind of try to really think about it. Be in your head. Are you conscious of where you could be, you know, less involved in the matters of others, right? That's what this is talking about. And it's also saying like the reason why someone is behaving the way that they're behaving is because of their ego. You know what I mean? Saturn is restricting the ego, and it is kind of like making it possibly feel a little bit oppressed, right? So someone could actually even be sad, you know? Someone could be experiencing some kind of heartbreak because Leo rules the heart and Saturn is kind of, you know, cold, right? Or something like that. I don't know. So you might be feeling like someone is cold-hearted, right? With this at the bottom. That's only for some of you. That's not for everybody. But this is also talking about getting into fights with your siblings, perhaps. Some of you could even be arguing with your parents over something, right? Some of you could just be disappointed in someone and how they choose to exercise their ego and their behavior. So this is talking about checking behavior. Behavior is very important because behavior allows you the freedom to move about in the world. I'm not talking about censoring yourself, and I'm not talking about, you know, falling in line with something that you feel like you don't want to just because it might be conservative or traditional. This is like asking you to like really think about what's important, think about what matters, and ask yourself how you might be limiting yourself with like maybe the friends that you have, right? So sometimes we don't like to admit to ourselves, you know, how our friends or our family might be, you know, getting in the way of our own development, right? You know, and this asks you to release the attachment that you have to your ego so that you can be something more than just what you always have been, right? And also you might be asking someone else to do that. All right, so let's flip over the center card. The center card is the Two of Cups, and the Two of Cups is asking you to really have, you know, have compassion for yourself and have compassion for other people. You know, it talks about being put to the test emotionally, and are you willing to just kind of like see things for what they are on the surface, right? Or no, look, being able to see past the surface of things, really, with the Two of Cups, and realize that everybody has certain sensitivities and certain vulnerabilities that are always going to keep them a little bit off balance, right? Just know that no one is perfect, and that's what the Two of Cups asks you to remember. Being that you know that no one is perfect, that means that, like, you also know that other relationships and other people's emotions sometimes have a little bit of we are vulnerable to the emotional effects that other people have on us, right? We react, okay? And we are triggered, right? So this is asking you to think about how you might be emotionally triggered, you know, and what you might be prompted, how you might be prompted to defend yourself out of fear, okay? Yeah? That's kind of like what this is talking about, you know? And it's like the fear of judgment from other people, but really it's just kind of like your own emotional insecurities here with the Two of Cups, perhaps. Also, the Two of Cups is talking about love, and it's talking about sex, and it's talking about bed pleasures, and it's talking about how we might be intimidated on a subconscious level with sex due to some past history that we might have with some relationships and the emotional impressions that they have left with us, right? Because sometimes we feel vulnerable to the fact that we don't feel in our power sexually, and sometimes we even might just be you know, some of us are very emotionally intuitive, and you might be feeling like you know what the other person might be thinking and feeling about you, and you have a fear of speaking on it or bringing it up. That's only for a few people. You know what I mean? So some of you guys need to have some really meaningful conversations so that you can kind of like not extract, because that's a little bit laborious, so that you can kind of like free up these emotions that you've been holding back from someone else, right? That's what this is talking about, right? And it's Venus in Cancer, and Venus wants peace. It wants the pleasure principle, and it also wants to find emotional balance between two people. So I feel like that's something that you all want as well, to find emotional balance with yourself and with someone else. And you have to determine whether or not you can achieve that emotional balance with the other person, whatever that means. It doesn't mean that you have to be in a relationship with them. Or, you know, it's like when you think about who you are and you think about how you feel about yourself, what's the feedback, you know, what's the emotional feedback? What's the feedback you're getting from your subconscious? And what is the feedback that you're getting from your own, like, empathic nature, right? This could also be like discovering what it is that how you may have been holding yourself back, and it's coming through in like a kind of like spiritual way. So you're able to see things or hear things or feel things from, you know, other places that kind of trigger you to like explore the emotional depths of, you know, who you are, your identity. Okay, and you're kind of like freeing yourself up from that. And that's probably why the Five of Wands came up, because it's like, oh, how I've been fighting myself. You know what I mean? Because the fives are being in battle with yourself over some stuff. See, look, Five of Swords, right? Exactly. You know, and sometimes that Five of Swords energy makes you feel like you don't belong, or it makes you feel like you don't know what you're talking about, that type of thing. It can make you feel left out, or like your opinion doesn't matter, right? You could also even be in your head based on someone else's misguided opinion about who they thought you were, who they think you are, or what they thought you could do or be or even become. You know what I mean? This is Venus in Aquarius, so we're coming up with Venus again here, right? And then we got Saturn here, which is talking about the responsibility of learning lessons. And that's what the fives are talking about as well. You know, it's the inner ear, and it's your consciousness, right? How consciously aware are you of these things these problems that you have, right? The necessary evil, the slaps in the face, and the wake-up calls that you get from yourself, and kind of like the interactions that you have with your inner world and your outer world, right? That's kind of like what this is, your emotional inner world, and then also how your outer world is affected by your inner world, your emotions, this right here. You know what I mean? And then you get in your head about it, right? And it creates conflicts with people on a psychological level, right? Also, the Five of Swords is just saying like know when it's time, because Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius. Know when it's time to detach from situations that don't feed into your happiness, or that don't feed into your best interest. But these are learning lessons. You know what I mean? Okay, right. Like, okay, I don't like this, and I'm determining that, you know, this isn't good for me psychologically or emotionally or mentally. So what do I need to do? You need to detach from that. You know what I mean? Create something new, right? This is kind of like you've gotten used to something, and now you don't necessarily identify with the nature of that thing that you've gotten used to, and you've been prompted to realize that through the conflict. Okay? Yeah, that's it. That's what happens. It's okay. Nothing was ever meant to be the same forever. That's why these fives are fixed, and they're fixed because of the first fixed sign, which is Taurus, and that's the Hierophant, okay? And it's talking about how you get, you know, your mental attachments, your physical attachments, your emotional attachments, you know what I mean? And also the attachments that you have to yourself, your ego, and how we learn from that. Okay, and the Wheel of Fortune is talking about space. It's talking about expansion. It's talking about getting a move on and how you maintain a sense of peace on the inside of that circle, right? That's spinning, which is kind of like the cardinal cross, the cardinal axes, that sort of thing, right? So it's talking about how you initiate, you know, how you change the way that you initiate, right? Like the gears of a car, Sagittarius, Jupiter, right? You know, like a stick shift, right? You have to see yourself as that. Okay, muscle car, that's what I'm getting here. You know, this is like the Mustang, right? A Camaro, like that type of thing, a Corvette, whatever kind of car, but that's just what I'm thinking of because I'm an 80s baby, right? But, you know, the Wheel of Fortune is career, and it's career expansion, right? And it's how you are evolving and growing into that self-mastered individual that you were meant to be. But we're always changing and we're always evolving. So at each different stage of your life, each phase, whatever they are, however that pans out for you, you're going to be becoming something new, or you're going to be realizing something else that you haven't ever before. So the Wheel of Fortune does talk about taking risks, and it does talk about experiencing something that you've never experienced before. And sometimes you have to allow yourself to have an experience that you've never had before, no matter how difficult it is, you know what I mean, right? Or how much change it's bringing. So this is change that's very much needed for your own life, for your own clarity, your own individual clarity. Does that make sense? Take advantage of an opportunity, create more opportunities for yourself, you know? Hello. In the Sun position, the Chariot. Wow, this is kind of good. Right? Ooh, where's my water? It's not in here. That's all right. Wait. Okay, so the Chariot. So it's almost like you got the Wheel of Fortune and you got the Chariot. And I like that I got both of these together because it's asking you to, you know, leave something behind and not identify with your past as much. You need to identify with the present moment right now, right? Because the present moment right now determines your future, not your past. Your past determines this moment right here. And this moment is going to determine your future. You see what I mean? You got the wheel right there in the sand. It's talking about boundaries whenever you see water and land next to each other, right? Adjacent. So it's talking about a changing of elements, right? A change of elemental form or a change in form. Okay, and here we go. We got the wheel right there, you know? It's kind of like this is Jupiter and this has an element of Neptune because it just does. All right, wisdom, okay? So there's a sense of balance here being achieved as you move forward from the things that were holding you back. You know how you might have been hesitant in the past. You might have been hesitant in the past to move forward from something because you had an emotional attachment to that thing and you didn't see yourself kind of like, you know, you just didn't identify with anything other than that, right? And it's difficult when you have to, you know, move on or you have to relate to life in a new way because your circumstances have changed. But this is kind of like your circumstances have changed in a good way with these two cards being here. I was going to say two benefic cards, but this is a 7. So this Chariot is very beneficial. Okay, so some of you might be getting a new vehicle, right? Or a car or something like that. You might be getting your car or your vehicle fixed or repaired. Or some of you might have been like immobile because you had some sort of an injury perhaps, you know what I mean? Or some of you may have just kind of like, just been trying to like get yourself back in shape after having a child or something like that, and now you're feeling like you can move forward because the Chariot is Cancer, and that is also like the mother, right? And the Chariot is like your momentum, and you achieve balance through like movement, right? That's why you have to stay physically active, because then your body stays balanced. You know what I mean? Read so that you can stay, you know, balanced in your mind, right? Intellectually balanced. Everything. It's yin and yang energy here, right? You gotta also, you have a responsibility to allow yourself to move forward past, you know, whatever it is that you've gone through, right? Because that was just kind of like part of the lesson of the road, right? Stay focused on the road ahead. Keep your focus on the horizon. You know what I mean? And that makes you optimistic, because there's so much possibility in that. There's so much bounty in that. Definitely with both of these cards here. Okay? And it's great because it keeps you up. Listen, you're talking to a Libra here. Okay? Double Libra. I'm not going to tell you the rest of the placements that I have, because there's a lot of them that are like in their rulership, accidentally exalted, you know, all this stuff, right? I got some debilitations too, but then there's an accident, you know, some accidental exhaustions with the exhaustions. Accidental things going on in there in that chart. But, you know, like the Chariot and the Wheel of Fortune, definitely move forward, focus on the future. You know what I mean? There's so much promise there, right? And it's almost like you can feel yourself starting to move forward, starting to push forward, right? And Uranus is also about to go direct in Taurus. I mean, you know, we have 2 5s here, which is related to the Hierophant, which is Taurus. And then we have the 2 of Cups here, which is related to the 2nd house, okay? Right. We got the Prince of Pentacles, which is the Knight of Pentacles. And this is somebody that's giving you some advice that's going to help you, some helpful advice. This could be coming from some of your mothers because it's in the moon position, or it could just be coming from somebody that, like, you know, you trust, you care about. And the Prince of Pentacles is Virgo, so it's got 1/3 Leo here. So this could be coming from someone who has a little bit of experience with what they're trying to help you with. You know, Virgo is like service oriented, and Virgo wants things to be very smooth and processed, and it wants you to get like the benefit of like, you know, knowing what to do and knowing how to do it right, right? So that's what we're thinking about with the Prince of Pentacles. This is somebody that comes in, right? And that changes the circumstances for you. So somebody could be coming to your rescue financially in some kind of way. I don't know. That's only for some of you out there. Or something could be coming in for you that you've been waiting for that's finally gotten there, right? You know, I feel like maybe you've had to make some adjustments slowly as you move forward into the future. You know, the sun is like moving and the moon is like kind of slow, but it's going, you know, it's going. And it's saying that you're slowly changing habits, some of you. You're slowly changing some of your emotional habits too, and the attachments that you have to your emotions, right? That's a habit, okay? Processing, you know, the mental activity, right? It's good. Keeping yourself busy, doing things that kind of like help you pass the time, that's very good. You know, keeping yourself busy in a healthy way is also going to just play into your mental health, okay? And then you're also getting things done. So then you feel kind of like refreshed. And this is talking about feeling refreshed over time. And that's just kind of like, and things growing over time, right? You know, what are the necessities that to your life, right? Like what's essential, right? So think about what's essential and make sure that that's done first, okay? And then you can focus on other things after that. So as long as you keep your mind and your focus on the essential material needs getting met, you're pretty good. Because then you're gonna feel good. You're like, wow, I'm working out. Wow, I'm eating well. Wow, I have a clean house. You know, you know, I'm going to my doctor's appointments, you know, that type of thing. I'm able to save money too and not be too impulsive, right? Because it's coming from Leo. So it has an experience of being impulsive, and it knows how to like manage things now. So now you have a better way of managing things. Maybe you're not taking care of someone else, you know, maybe you're able to take care of yourself now, right? I don't know. That's kind of like the opposite of somebody helping you, but you know, it came out. Okay, so we have the Seven of Swords here in the anxiety. So this is like, I don't know how to express what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Or I can't express my feelings into words, okay? And this is also just kind of wanting to move on from a bad situation here, this card. Or just moving on from a situation that was kind of like confusing, and there was like a lack of response, a lack of information, you know, so you could be experiencing a lack of response from someone, right? And this could just be making you feel, you know, in a little bit of an emotional limbo, right? Or you could be just wanting to like move on, right? You want to move on from something, and that's kind of like the moon, like, oh, I want to move on. And then the moon being in Aquarius, right? It's like the moon is in an air sign, so it's like very much detached, right? So somebody is like, they've gone emotionally cold, or they might just be like really detached from whatever it is. You know, this is how they achieve balance, by being, you know, just kind of like creating this distance, right? And it's related to the or to the Chariot here, okay? It's like mixed messages with the Seven of Swords, right? So some of you are getting mixed messages from some people, some relationships, some friendships, that type of thing. You know, you're hoping that like you can stop thinking about this eventually over time. You know, time and distance does kind of like help you to kind of like forget. It's like time heals as well. That's what this is. Time is going to heal you from this. It's time. That's the remedy. If we try to retrace what it's showing my face and remind you, I don't mind you. Okay, anyway, so the Two of Wands is here in the Mars position, and this is Mars in Aries, okay? So it's like, yes, do it. It's you. Do what you are doing. Exactly. Continue to go with that, right? You may not know what's going to be on the other side, right? But go ahead and do it. And then this being in the Mars position is saying like, you know, you're not thinking about like other people, right? I mean, maybe, you know, it's your inner world versus your outer world. You know, it's like what my impulse is to do and what I know I have a responsibility to do. It's like my impulse to do something, and yes, my outer world is probably like, oh my gosh, you know, don't do that. Don't be an individual. But at this point, you know, it's time to be an individual, right? Sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I miss, you know, seeing you and your other friend on the, you know, in the readings. And I'm like, well, it's me now. It's been me for like almost 2 years. But the Two of Wands is here. And it's saying like when you venture off to do something, the courage that it takes to come out of your comfort zone and do that thing is what is going to actually bring you the satisfaction and, you know, the emotional validation too. You get emotional validation by, you know, taking risks and exploring, you know, the extremes of your personality in a healthy way, the healthy extremes of your personality, right? Exploration, because you're not just like, you know, a one-sided individual, right? There's many different sides to who you are. And sometimes you have to exercise that, right? And it's also asking you to lead, you know, in this time. The Two of Wands asks you to lead, right? Be a leader, right? Stay strong in your sense of leadership and stay strong in your sense of self and your sensibility, you know, for sure. Right, many different shades. Okay, we got you over here with Venus, or no, with the Justice card, which is kind of Venus, it's Libra, right? So we're talking about balance. We're talking about, you know, being able to explore your options safely, coming up with some resolutions once you've explored your options, you know? And this is justifying your reasoning for making a decision that you made, you know, out of friendships, out of relationships. I've been seeing a lot of owls this week everywhere, you know, and I also went to Central Park to see the owl there. But after that, I was seeing owls everywhere. And there's an owl here. This is talking about wisdom. It's talking about time, you know, and it's also saying like now is the time to make a change. And that's what the Justice card talks about. You know, a sense of balance that is coming from, you know, taking a chance, and it's not being afraid to make decisions that, you know, need to be made. No matter how, you know, I don't know, how they might shake things up. It's individual growth too. It definitely is from the Justice card. Just because the Justice card is number 11 and that's related to Aquarius. So like Libra and Aquarius, right? Also Gemini, because that 11 symbol is like, you know, as above, so below. We're thinking about that too, right? Balance, okay? Truth, okay? Objectivity, yeah? Truth that came from deliberation, an answer, a conclusion that came from, you know, a lengthy thought process. So some of you have thought long and hard about a relationship, you know, and the decision is probably what it is. This is also like, I still have my beliefs, right? And this is saying like, I'm still giving myself the space to change my mind, but right now, I'm basically like choosing to just kind of like clear the slate. I'm choosing to not really want to have anything to do with it. I'm choosing to rid myself of whatever it was that I felt like was kind of just more of the same, you know? And this is also a relationship paying the price or paying the consequences for something, you know? Because the Justice card definitely speaks to consequences. You may have found out the truth about something. Or maybe you were just so in your head and didn't know the truth that you had to decide for yourself whatever it was that you had to decide for yourself to kind of like bring the situation back to balance, right? This is also like mental strength. So it's asking you to stay strong mentally and also emotionally. And don't let the influences of others sway your decision. You know what I mean? Right? It's like, I meant what I said, or I said what I said, right? Or whatever. It's also taking responsibility, you know. The Death card. Okay, so the Death card is talking about being in your head about something too much. You can't control it, right? Because the Death card is related to Scorpio. It's also related to Aries for me, and also Cancer because the 13 is a 4. You know, the only way to resolve this is to end it. Pretty much. You got the Justice card here, and you got the Death card here. You know, and when I say to end it, I mean just leave it behind you. You know, the relationship, right? Get out of your head about it. Focus on something new, right? It's time to, like, just being extremely aware of change. And that's what the Death card is talking about. And it's asking you to allow the change to occur and not to fight it. That's why it's a 4. Don't get too emotionally, you know, attached to whatever it is that is trying to go or leave, right? It is time to leave, leave something behind you, right? Right? I made that little analogy briefly just a few moments ago, but really these cards came up at the very beginning. And you see this symbol here? It's right there. Compass, navigation, right? So sometimes we have to go through struggles in life and we have to experience hardship or we have to make difficult decisions, right? Because if we never had to do it, then it's like we would never be primed and ready for certain experiences that we were meant to have in the future when we were anticipated to be more self-actualized. You know what I mean? So you have to leave room for a little bit of mystery. You have to leave a little bit of room for expansion. You know, if you're just stuck in one place, then you're never going to, like, grow. If you never choose to, like, go outside of the boundaries of what you know. You see what I mean? And sometimes it's really scary to go outside of the boundaries of what you know. Number 4 in your head, Aries energy. Number 4, Cancer, the home, my comfort zone, my shell. Get out of your shell, right? You know, when you hold on to negative emotions, it's like, you know, you're creating, you're housing that energy. You're housing that negative energy. It's like, why are you choosing to be mad about something when you can actually just let it go, right? That's the best thing in the world. And you have that choice. You have that option to just let it go. And that's why the Justice card is number 11. And then the Judgment card is number 20. When you reduce that, it's a 2. When you add this and reduce it, it's a 2. Right? The Judgment card is like a resolute kind of feeling. And so is this. And this is saying, like, come to terms with it now before you have to come to terms with it in the form of the Justice card. Or, sorry, the Judgment card. Why don't you make it now? Light, easy, swift. Shit no more, baby. Right? Kind of like that. I can't take this shit no more. Sorry, excuse my language. Yeah. Right. It's time to focus on minting a stronger, more courageous, more valued sense of self. Okay, you know what I mean? Like the 8 of Pentacles here, this is in the future. This is great. So this is talking about work improving, you know, and in the playing card deck, the 8 of Diamonds is actually the Sun card. Right? Don't say it today. Don't talk about it. This is Sun in Virgo. And this is talking about the power and the influence, or just, you know, the power and the encouragement that you feel from the work that you do. So this is kind of like not letting anybody else tell you who you are, right? You know what you're good at. You know your sense of self-value, right? You know your purpose more than anyone else does. Don't let anybody try to tell you what your purpose is, right? Standing up for your career as well. Somebody tried to read me the other day and tell me I didn't have a career, but I had a job, but they don't know who I am or what I do or what I've accomplished. Right? And I'm still doing it. Clueless. He was clueless as to who he was talking to, or they were. I don't know. I don't know enough about them to know what they were, who they were. You know? And I'm just being very, you know, zero F's about it because, like, the way they were, like, trying to come at me. That just makes you want to work harder, you know? The eights are talking about not using force, not trying too hard, you know? You don't have to, like, throw any tinsel or sequins or glitter or anything on it. It really is as good as it gets. Not as good as it gets, but the quality is there. You don't have to make anything more, dress it up, you know? The quality is there, you know? You can bite it, it's real. You see what I mean? The quality of your work is real. It's appreciated too. Right? These are meant to, you know, go out and be sold. Right? Whatever your service is that you are doing, just focus on that, you know? If there's drama, if there's conflict, if there's like, you know, there isn't any, just focus on your work, right? This is kind of like an individualized work experience, you know, and you're working towards something, and you know you are. This is a sense of clairvoyance here. I know why I do what I'm doing. You know, I know what I do it for. Right? It's like putting your intellect, channeling your intellect into form. You know? Taking your wisdom into form. Putting your ideas into form. Right? Do you have the courage to put your ideas out there? Do you have the courage to, you know, continue? Right? Even when it does get hard. This is kind of like if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Let's see what the last card is at the top. Yes. All right, so this is the King of Cups, right? The King of Cups is 1/3 Libra and 2/3 Scorpio. The King of Cups is related to that Four of Cups, you know? We're emotionally mature now. We know that we have the tools and the skills and the mindset to bring emotional stability back to ourselves by creating healthy boundaries with our inner world and our outer world. Because Libra is the outer world and Scorpio would be your emotional inner world, right? All of the water signs are talking about your inner world, you know, and all of the air signs are talking, well, the air signs are talking about your inner world too, but in your head, right? And it's talking about your outer world in terms of like expansion, right? And space, right? And also time by way of Aquarius and Libra. Okay. And, you know, it's being ready for unexpected things to happen and not getting emotionally overwhelmed, right? Because Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, and Uranus also is the esoteric ruler of Libra. So we have that energy of Uranus in this card, ironically, which is so crazy to me, right? Keeping your emotions at bay, but in the right way, you know, like knowing what to do. It's kind of like when someone gets overwhelmed and they pick up like their instrument and they start playing. That's a very healthy way to process your emotions, you know? Right? Or you understand that you have the capabilities, the tools, you have the mindset, right? The wisdom to be able to cope with the, you know, atrocities of life. And that's kind of like the King of Cups. The King of Cups knows how to deal with that type of stuff. It also is talking about therapy too, you know, using, you know, art as therapy. Hello. It's satisfying. Even when you don't think that when your intention isn't to use art as therapy, when you experience art, you are getting a therapeutic experience, I believe, or you're having a therapeutic experience. And that is how that's bringing pleasure to your inner and your outer world. So maybe some of you need to put some art or some things on your walls. Maybe you need to add some color to your space. Maybe you need to make it more meaningful or more sentimental in some kind of way, you know? Or you need to maybe have more sentimental moments in your life right now because everything else is kind of crazy, you know? Bringing some balance back to your headspace. Turning off the electronics. Not me though. Don't turn me off. Turn me on. Make me come alive. Come on and turn me on. Turn me on. Okay. I think that's gonna be it. I don't know what I was saying to y'all today, but this was longer than I anticipated. So it's not gonna be on IG. It's only going to be on YouTube. And I will probably post some clips from this onto IG just so they can see it. They can be tempted, you know, to come to the YouTube page, YouTube channel and see. So I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, it's Providence Tarot here and it's Providence Tarot on IG. But my personal account is NYC Kendrick. If you like food, my food account is The Tongue Pop. Yeah. All right, I'll see you all later, okay? Also, if you want to take advantage of my 2021 special, email me at providencetarotkendrick@gmail.com. And, you know, inquire about booking a reading. Oh, yeah. You definitely are moving on. You learned your lesson from something, identifying with something, you know, thinking that if you, you know, attached yourself to it, that it would improve your life in some kind of way, but it didn't. It only made it a little bit worse. It only made matters worse. You know, you're realizing something only made it worse. Or like there was just like a long time where things kind of like just didn't get better for some of you. But now they are. Because those cards at the beginning were like, moving forward. Bam. Anyway, right. Stop thinking about the past. Stop keeping yourself, you know, tethered to something. Right? You have the ability and the capability to pull yourself out of this. right? This is just more of the same thing. It's just going to be more of the same thing. That's why there are 3 cups there, because it's like basically multiplicity, the same thing going around, same old, same old, same old, right? Mundane emotions. Take yourself out of it and come here. Realize that you're always, you know, you're the only one that's going to be able to take yourself out of this, right? It's almost kind of like these are related, right? Do you want to continue to feel like that? I don't think so. All right, bye. I'm going to leave it.